Put your tray tables in the upright position.
Make me fly. Watch me kiss the sky. Come move on me. It is all in me. With you by my side, there's no way I can lose. See me fly.
Goddamn, and my memory served me. Energy from everything kinetically surging. Better never get another chance to be this young. Woke up to see this sun. New days, I'ma get me one. Been a long road coming, thinking God blessed every run. All the million little pieces we've become. Any bucket list, I'ma leave it done. All I need's a good cup of coffee, good plump in the concrete. Hooked up in Brooklyn, took a Nile Street. Bought every watch in his jacket, just so maybe I remember this time, everything that happened. Then I'm zipping in my friends a mask where the legal grass is. Just give me the sativa stash. It's been down, now it seems it's backwards. Got a beat from in, now we rolling down the street, just laughing so fly.
Make me fly. Watch me kiss the sky. Then you move on me. It is all in me. With you by my side, there's no way I can lose. See me fly. When you move on me, it is all in me. With you by my side, there's no way I can lose. See me fly.
When I'm with you, my dear, I'm far away from here. Must be the magic. Must be the magic. I found you.
Make me fly.
That's right.
Watch me kiss the sky. Then you move on me. It is all in me. With you by my side, there's no way I can lose. See me fly.
Oh shit, mountain smooth, cause you reach a new altitudes. Hanging on every word like a mountain view. When we bounce a cruise, fuck them all, I can count on you. Like Bojack and Dyer, whole snap and try it. Pepper pots in the eye, man. Times get strange and the people keep lying. The truth is the truth, any state I reside in. I am.
Make me fly. Watch me kiss the sky. Then you move on me. It is all in me. With you by my side, there's no way I can lose. See me fly.
Ahora directamente desde West Hartford, Clockwise, el único, el más bravo, el duro, el que nunca nadie lo puede poner abajo porque él siempre tiene toda la lírica para todo el pueblo de West Hartford, para que lo sepas, papá.
Hello, how are you? It's Friday night. We're back on the IDP Lounge. We are joined by this week at Kyle B. Kyle, how's it going?
Hey guys, it's going. How's it going for you fellas?
It's going. Been a busy day.
It's going
Ramping up for what seems to be a school year. Seems to be being the key word there. We are also joined, as always, by Hollywood. Hollywood's never up to no good. And also this week, we are joined by Dynasty Tripp, also known as Monkey Stat Crew.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on. It's good to be here. Looking forward to speaking brief about some IDP with y'all.
Yeah, you were with us for a mock draft a couple weeks ago.
That's right. That's right.
I get to come on the camera.
Hold up.
What?
There ain't nothing right about that picture down there in the bottom left. He's wearing a Clemson shirt with a Dallas Cowboys hat. That shit just
That's right.
what in the world is
What?
going on? Holy crap. That's sacrilege.
The orange is a little too intense for you. I hear you.
It's a little brighter orange than he's used to.
Yeah,
He's used to a more dull orange.
Exactly. That's
Just
right.
gonna say it's a different orange than Daryl's.
A lightweight orange, if you will.
So you can see I have the school schedule. Sorry, I'm getting used to this
Other way.
camera here.
The other way. The other
Behind
way.
me over here as I'm getting ready for virtual school, which is
Good luck with that. Should be fun.
sounds great. Yeah, it should be interesting. My kids will be busier than they were in the spring. It seems like they are
Yeah.
going to be going from like a full day of school. Like, it's going to be crazy. I don't know how they're going to sit there for that long. But anyway, I guess we will all survive until we're back in the buildings, whenever that happens. Unless somebody demands the Big Ten going back to the field, we might have somebody demanding that we go back to the schools. But that's another shade of orange that we won't talk about. But anyway, we will also be joined by the doctor, Ethan Turner. I guess he's giving us a chance to speak. Since whenever Ethan is on, it is honestly tough to get a word in edgewise.
What are you trying to say?
You wind him up and he just goes, man. He just takes it.
I just let him go and I poke at him every once in a while. Just give him a poke and see where he goes.
Well, that's my game plan. I just let you go and I just poke the bear every once in a while.
And you
Do
do
you
it
like
well.
my hashtag better? Do you like my hashtag better this week or today? If you didn't listen to IDP Nation, the hashtag the other day was Tannehill Tuesdays, since we record on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But today, IDP Lounge Lizards.
Okay.
Hashtag IDP Lounge Lizards.
I like it.
If you want to be a lounge lizard, come join us. Use that hashtag in your tweet. I don't know if does Facebook do hashtags or do people just do them and they don't do anything?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't really play around with. I go on Facebook to see people get angry, and then I hit exit, and then go on with my day because I don't have time for that nonsense.
That's right. As little Facebook as possible for me.
I should just delete the app until about November 6th, and then I have a feeling though it won't end on November 6th either because there's wars breaking out in comment sections. And I don't know.
Well, I'm amazed that you think Facebook is. So Twitter is not angry. There's an awful lot of conflict on there lately.
Yeah, but Twitter, you only have 140 characters to get angry.
That's true. That's true. You can only spew so much venom.
140 characters isn't a whole lot.
I can be creative in 140.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Twitter, I must be the I just don't follow people that get too crazy, I guess. Or
right.
I don't incite outrage, I guess, to get 5,000 comments telling me I suck. So
right. Definitely try to keep it about.
That's because people don't know you like I do. Trust me, if they knew me like I do, you'd get outraged.
Dingus says he can make Daryl angry in under 140 characters. TANNEL 9 characters. He could probably get you angry.
Is that an English word? I don't understand that.
Thank you, Spaceman. Tannehill. He can make you angry or not. Social media is
that word.
toxic. Yeah, that's why people need to just chill out and I don't know. A teacher friend of mine every week posts be nice to people this week or something like that, and more people need to just I don't know relax and be nice to each other. Because I don't know, I can't deal with people getting angry. But here we go. Dingus is poking the bear again. I wonder who Tannehill has ranked as the edge one.
See, you're speaking a language that I don't understand. I don't understand these words that you're saying.
He's probably got one of the Bosa's, one of Daryl's buddies.
He probably does. He probably does. Nick Bosa is going to miss some time. So apparently,
Do you imagine that?
Apparently, he should be part of my team one, I would assume. We'll get into some other stuff. Not to get too bogged down in the politicalness and the social unrest. But there is something that I think that needs to be broached. So what if something happens like the other day in baseball where one game out of a week just decides they're not playing this week? How does that impact fantasy? And what if they decide, like the Mets and the Marlins did at 7:10 after the game is supposedly started, and your lineup's set? And how do you combat that as a commissioner, as a league?
I remember a few years ago, Marshawn Lynch strained his back in warmups and didn't play, and I took a 0. So
yeah, we're talking entire teams. Like,
yeah, I know.
The Chiefs decide to sit out. That's a lot of people's top weapons. So, I mean, we one of my commissioners, we haven't had our draft yet. We're free agency done yet, and he's kind of debating some things, and he's considering just playing this year free. And, if there was a team that opts out of a week, that we just do best ball that week. But then still, if it's a shallow league, if you don't have anybody on your bench, you're kind of screwed that week.
Yep.
So it brings up more issues for, once it seems like everybody had the COVID stuff under control, where, okay, we got the COVID spots. We got contingency plans for if they only play 8 weeks. We got all this stuff wrapped up, and then somebody, throws a wrench into the whole mix. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing that athletes are using their platform. And honestly, both sides are attacking each other. But you know what? These athletes get ridiculed because they don't use their platform. They don't speak up enough. And then when they do, everybody's complaining about how they're, they should just stick to sports and stuff like that. And I am definitely not one that says they should stick to sports, because you go on Facebook, everybody's got an opinion. So why can't they have an opinion? So that's about all I'll say about that. But what are your contingency plans? Has any of your leagues discussed a contingency plan if, say, the Texans and Chiefs decide week 1 they're not playing?
None of mine have. No.
Yeah, none of mine
Everybody
either.
I've talked to has talked about COVID contingency plans. No one's mentioned the idea that a game could be canceled by protest. Have any games? Have any these NBA games? They're just being postponed, right?
They're being postponed. Yes, nothing has been scratched off. I mean, baseball has another. Baseball is another problem because they have teams like the Phillies and the Marlins and the Cardinals that already have a bunch of games to make up.
Mm-hmm.
And now the Phillies the other day didn't play. I'm not sure if they're playing tonight. I didn't really look too hard at the schedule for baseball. But yeah, I mean, hockey and basketball, they're just picking up on Saturday and continuing on. So really, it's not that big of an impact. It's just delaying a couple days, bringing attention. But yes. Is that yes, baseball is going. I mean, some games played the last couple nights. Are all the teams playing today? Is, I guess, the question. Chris would probably know because he probably has his DFS lineups in
Right.
at the DFS cheat sheet, I believe it is. So you can. He's helping us out with that one. But like I said, we thought we had this all planned out. We had the commissioners wrote in special rules for 2020. If your season goes this many games, it's a full season. We're going to count everything. If it doesn't, we're going to push the money to next year and just, bag it. And then we get another wrench in our commissioner plans. Now, if you're not a commissioner, do you even care? Like, is this like you just whatever the commission decides, whatever the league decides, you're cool with?
Yeah, one of my leagues coming up, we have an auction draft, and we just had a group text going around, and we just kind of laid out our plans with the COVID situation. We didn't plan for the team sitting out though, so that didn't come up yet. But
that's I guess something we got 2 weeks to hash that out.
Yeah, yep. But no, it's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it's just crazy. I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think the players have worked so hard and sacrificed so much already, being away from their families, going and, they're not in a bubble in NFL, but they've been doing, I don't know if anybody saw the Cleveland Browns, one of their employees walked us through their COVID stuff that they had to go through just to get in the building. It was pretty crazy because he's like, okay, you got to stop here. You got to fill out this. You got to do this. You got to do that. It was like a 20-minute thing. And B. Hartley is saying, did an NFL team say they might sit out? None of them have said they were going to, but given the events of this week, you got to, as a commissioner, I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking, okay, so what if? You have to kind of think ahead because if you get through the week and retroactive, I mean, you're dealing with sometimes a prize fund, and you want to try to be as upfront and see-through, transparent as possible. You don't want to say, okay, we're going to make this rule after the fact. You want to be upfront about it. You want to say, okay, we'll allow you to switch out a player if they walk on the field. And then the teams decide to say goodbye, see you. You kind of have to be flexible, I think, in that manner because you're playing as though you're setting your lineup thinking this player's playing. It's a lot different than you missing the inactives and not paying attention. Yeah, this is everybody thinks they're going to play, and like the Mets, they walked out on the field, they were warming up, they were getting ready for first pitch, and then they just all took a moment of silence and walked off the field. So I don't think anybody really saw that coming. I think the announcers were shocked as well. So no team, I think the teams have had discussions about it. Yep. What do you got, Tripp?
Cardinals. It's right here. Pro Football Talk reports that Corey Peters of the Cardinals acknowledges that the team has discussed a boycott for Week 1.
Yeah. So I think those discussions are happening all around the NFL. I think, I didn't watch much TV today just because I, can only take so much of the same conversation. I don't want to say it's a bad conversation to have, but I can only take so much on one topic for so long. Watching an hour or two of the same conversation wears on me a bit, and I just need to step away. Let's get into some IDP, though. Which rookie stock has risen the most since camp started? Anybody want to go first? I know that question just popped up, so some of you may not have gotten a chance to think about it. Pop into my head first. The first guy was Jacob Phillips for Cleveland because he's gotten a bigger opportunity, a bigger chunk of the pie for snaps with Mack Wilson. Now, somebody even said, Mack Wilson's doubtful for Week 1, but it's not a foregone conclusion that he's done for a while. So, I mean, I just drafted him because, he the lack of information, I guess, is making people optimistic. But I think Phillips has to be one of those guys you look at as somebody whose stock has risen a bit.
The first name that came to my mind was Kyle Duggar, but I don't know if Chung's opt-out occurred before or after camp started. But with, I think, that opportunity, I was excited about Duggar before the draft happened, and then he gets drafted into the spot, which is interesting but muddy. And then when Patrick Chung opts out, all of a sudden there's some snaps available. And Adrian Phillips is a nice player. Does he hold off Duggar for a full-time role? I don't know. But the reports for the first week of camp were that Duggar was making plays and flying all over the field and showing off that premium athleticism. That was the first name that came to my mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to remember Duggar's got return skills as a punt and kick returner too, so that'll help him a lot too.
Yep. Absolutely. I guess the one that's closest to me, because I follow Green Bay a lot, is Kamal Martin's really been making a ton of noise in Green Bay's camp, which I wasn't the highest on the pick when we made it, and I'm pleasantly surprised from what I'm hearing so far. They like what they've seen so far. He's big, he's 6'3", he's got long arms, and he's been flying around the field and really getting the scheme. And it's been nothing but good news for him so far. And we'll see how that translates, and who wins that spot next to Kirksey, because it's a battle with him and Oren Burks, and Ty Summers even's in the mix. So, but he was one of the lesser known drafted rookies this year that's really been making some noise.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him in a few places late because, Christian Kirksey, what do we know about him? He gets hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Oren Burks, what do we know about him? He missed a lot of time last year.
Sure.
So
It's definitely a situation to watch, because that's whoever holds down that full-time role, that's a primo spot,
Yeah.
For IDP.
Daryl, how about you? Who do you have?
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking. I think one that jumps to my mind real quick is Ashton Davis, the safety for the Jets, just because Jamal Adams is not there no more. Marcus May's not really lived up to his potential, been hurt a lot. So I know they got Bradley McDougal there, but May is not guaranteed anything. So if Davis can do anything at all, just based on Adams leaving, his value went up a lot.
Yeah, and one of mine that's going up a little bit, and you'll like this, Daryl. One of mine's going up a little bit because I've been playing Madden. I started a franchise with the Seahawks, and Daryl Taylor in his first game got me 2 sacks. So
that's Daryl's dude right there.
Yeah. I keep telling you.
So if he can do that in the real game, week
Yep.
1 against the Falcons, I'll be very happy. Anybody get a chance to play Madden besides me?
My
Not yet,
PS3
no.
broke, and I haven't got a new one yet. So.
I can't say it's a huge difference between the 20 version, but I'm like a little kid when it comes to Madden. Even if it's just a $60 roster update, I'm still all about it, because trying to go in and create the rookies and doing all that just seems like a whole lot of work. And I'd rather just turn it on, get the rookies.
Right.
And,
when you get your chance to play, you want it ready to go the way you want it.
Yeah. And, what's great though? They had Jamal Adams on the Seahawks already, so I didn't have to go making any trades although I probably could have worked a better deal than the Seahawks did, because 2 firsts is a little steep. So maybe I regret doing that, because I could have probably gotten them a little cheaper from the computer. But yeah. So Calvin jumps in here. Who's the safety to own in NOLA? Me personally, I like Malcolm Jenkins, cousin of Leroy Jenkins. Probably not. But yeah, he plays that he's going to slide into the Von Bell role, which was the original Malcolm Jenkins role, where he's just playing towards the box. For the Eagles, he basically played linebacker most of the time. So, he's the guy to own. He's going to be your in-the-box guy. I like Marcus Williams as a late round, bye week guy. Somebody has Chauncey Gardner-Johnson as a sleeper. He's kind of a little murky, because he could be a corner, which would be good for, if you have corner leagues that you need to start a corner. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. As he's going to play that kind of hybrid. That slot corner is almost damn near a safety. Mm-hmm. I say damn near. Not all of them are, but the good ones are like a safety.
Yeah.
Anybody else take somebody besides Jenkins? I know I mentioned all of them, but
No, I think you're right. I picked
Yeah.
up Gardner Johnson in a lot of spots, and I was hoping we'd see some preseason games because last year Gary Davenport got all excited about DeMonte Kazee and wanted to move him to corner, and he did. And I was like, wow, maybe the same thing will happen with Gardner Johnson, and he'll be a cheat code for us. And,
No,
well.
Z-Mag, yes. Our
I think-
Facebook users, by the way, before I go any further, if you're on Facebook, it just says Facebook user up here. So yes, please throw your Twitter handle in, your name, your abbreviation, what we know you as, so we can shout you out here.
What up, Zach?
breakout candidate for Zach, definitely. He just wrote a couple articles. One of them was about how we're overhyping Fred Warner.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I know that irked a few people, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
as long as you got the stats to back it up, and when what's his name, Alexander was on the field, his stats were not as high. So you can't fake the truth somewhat. His stats are not as high as when he's out. Amik Robertson.
Ooh,
Got
yeah,
a
I
rookie
like him.
thing you're looking at here.
rookie
Yes.
corner. I haven't seen anything that he's looking to start. Have y'all?
Rookie for
Well,
the
Dingus
Raiders.
would be the guy to ask about that.
Yeah.
He's the Raider man. Although they're not on Hard Knocks, so I don't know.
Right.
They're not this year. I actually don't have HBO this year, so I am completely left out of the Hard Knocks. Any cool things coming up from the Hard Knocks stuff? Anybody?
I'm in the process of moving, so I've missed it also. I don't have HBO right now.
I don't have it either. All I seen was the clip that Nate posted of Sean McVay pissed off somebody dropped a deuce in the in the porta potty outside. Yeah, that's the only. That's all I saw.
That's a cuttable offense right there.
Oh yeah.
Because that's not being a team player. That's just being selfish.
That's all I've seen of Hard Knocks so far is that clip.
And McVay is pristine looking house, like mansion, and Jared Goff with his golf course.
Yeah.
It won't take long for Amik to win the slot corner job. I don't doubt it. But one of the things the Raiders have is an excess of corner talent. They have Trayvon Mullen they drafted. They have LaMarcus Joyner, who can kind of play that slot safety, slot corner role. They have Damon Arnett they drafted in the first round. They have a few other guys back there. I think they
What I've read is Mullen at one spot, Amukamura and Arnett competing for the other corner spot, Joyner in the slot, and then Abram and Randall at the safeties. That's what I've seen. And so he may be saying that he thinks LaMarcus Joyner has a thin hold on that job, and that may be. He's been there for a couple of years, has not been as big of an impact player as I think they might have expected when they brought him over from the Rams.
Well, the Rams were franchise tagging every safety they had for a couple of years. I think they 2 straight years they franchise tagged 2 different safeties. So, I guess they bought the hype on him. The FF Hustler Alex says Aaron Donald dominated the Rams offensive lineman on Hard Knocks. There's rumors of him getting some defensive end snaps. I just hope that doesn't ruin his designation.
Right.
But is that really surprising that Aaron Donald's dominating that weak offensive line?
No.
Thanks
with his high school offensive line and getting cracked years ago. Yeah, it's he's got the JVO line going across from him.
And poor Cam Akers goes from Florida State to the Rams, who are struggling, with their offensive line.
Yeah.
They didn't really ever get it going too much last year. I mean, that was one of their biggest problems was they couldn't block anybody last year. So it made it tough for Gurley to get going. It made it tough for that offense to just get going in general.
And then they use all their picks on what they got a running back in the second, a receiver in the third, an edge they needed an edge in the third, a tight end in the fourth. And
that's right, Daryl. They got an edge.
Yep.
I don't know what this word is.
They
Y'all
got
are
an edge.
speaking foreign language. I have no idea what you're saying. You might as well be speaking Chinese. I have no idea.
What was Terrell Lewis's position designation in your Devy ranks?
Outside linebacker.
Okay.
I thought it started with an E.
Well, for the IDP guys, we for the college guys coming out, we designated those guys as edge because until they're drafted, you don't know what they're going to be because
Right.
it depends on what team they're drafted on.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa, if he was drafted to Denver, would have been classified an outside linebacker edge player.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it all depends on where you go as to what position you're going to play.
Yep.
What team drafts you and decides to do with you. Like Marlon Davidson was considered a defensive end because Auburn played a 3-4, and now Davidson's playing inside next to Grady Jarrett in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I just finished up the NFC South offense and defense previews, so those should be coming out this weekend or at some point. I was a little tardy with my assignments, so I may have gotten blackballed for a couple days. I was one of the people saying, well, can we get a schedule? And then, vacation hit, and August has been a blur to me because honestly, it's almost the end of August, and it feels like I was just going on vacation like yesterday. So,
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, but anyway, so Tripp, you got some corner work. Yeah, you spent some time writing about corners.
I did. I felt obligated. I racked my brain. It took me
You
over
felt
a week.
obligated.
What's that?
How did you feel
That's
obligated to write about corners? Like,
See, that's it. Dan's out, Tripp's in.
what brings the obligation of I need to write about corners?
Well, I got through the interior defensive linemen. I got through the edges. I got through the linebackers, and I got through the safeties. I'm like, cornerbacks.
I did include a couple corners. I did include a couple corners in my NFC South preview, just because they do have some good fantasy corners. They have. I think I included Eli Apple because everybody loves throwing at Eli Apple.
Yes.
Dante Jackson, though, is one. I mean, and the Tampa Bay guys, I don't know if it's the stat crew in Tampa that just loves giving them credit for passes defended, but like they have a couple dudes with like over 15.
Yeah.
And one of them is Jamel Dean, who barely sniffed any tackles.
Yeah.
He had more passes defended than tackles, I think, which is crazy.
Well, Pro Football Focus is charting independently, and they're giving a lot of passes defense to Tampa also, I think.
Yeah.
And part of it's just that Todd Bowles' defense is about denying the football, and so they're out and they're facing a lot of passes because the run defense is pretty stout. It was the pass defense that was suspect, and so it got Barrett a lot of sacks, and it got the corners a lot of batted balls.
That's good.
But I wonder if we can continue.
That's a really
It's
good
good
point.
to know that Tampa Bay gets those batted passes. It's just like everyone knows that Green Bay and Buffalo gives their linebackers a lot of tackles. It's just a well-known thing. So, yeah, Seattle.
Who told us last week that Seattle had for 1 and 2 assists? It was KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner. I forget who told us that, but it was a good stat. And I'm like, I didn't even know that. Maybe it was you.
I thought it was Daryl. Daryl was running through a bunch of stats.
It might have been. I think it was me. I think you were going
Yeah.
over some stats, and I think I looked at it. Yeah.
I do so many recordings a week naudays. It's hard to keep track of who said what at what time. So
I'll forget what I just said here in about 2 minutes.
we know that, but that has more to do, I think, with Budweiser than recordings.
How dare you talk about my good friend?
Well, there's another one is Shaquille Griffith. He had 20 assisted tackles. So I was like, I didn't like sort it too closely, but he might have had the most assisted tackles of any corner. Why? Because he's playing half his games in Seattle and getting their stat crew. And that's a nice little bump with corners when if you get 80 tackles out of them, you're thrilled. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. But yeah, Seattle's stat crew is always generous. Buffalo's has always been generous. And I guess Green Bay too. So maybe the Blake Martinez shine comes off a little bit because he's not getting the generous stat crew in Green Bay anymore.
I know you're riling up Daryl with that take.
Whoa, you're heading down a bad road, buddy.
It'll be interesting to see. Let's
I
see
think
if
the big difference for Green Bay is that scheme. I think that scheme really is spilling all the tackles to that middle linebacker position. Consider there's only one of them because they're playing dime all the time, and that Blake Martinez's job was just to clean up for everybody. And I think that Kirksey will be in pretty much the same spot. And I think I'm I looked at his numbers back the last time he was a full-time player when he was healthy about 3 years ago. He had 14.7 fantasy points based on Fantasy Pro's scoring system. That's exactly the same number as Blake Martinez's 3-year per game average. So he has been in a spot like that where tackles are being pushed to him. Kirksey has, and I think he can step in and do a lot of the same things Martinez has. Martinez, in 2017, he had some big plays, but since then he hasn't. He's been a tackle-dependent guy, just a high-volume guy making tackles. And I think you can plug a guy like Kirksey in there and get pretty close to those numbers. So he's pretty high on my board.
I agree.
I agree.
I think you stat crew here. Look at all those stats he threw out.
I like it. I like it.
But I agree with him, but I don't think Martinez is going to see a drop. I mean, who does the Giants really have up front that's any better than what Green Bay had? I mean, the Giants are going to rely on him to soak up a lot of tackles. It's the two safeties that they have. Well, was the two safeties in Peppers and McKinney. Yeah. I mean,
and Julian
and
Love.
I've got a little piece coming out on those injuries, so you need to watch for that. But, with Peppers, I don't know who else they have really on defense. I mean, they have some pieces up front, but I don't think it's any better than what Green Bay had. So I don't think Martinez is dropping it all. I love it. Every year, people keep hating on Martinez, and he just keeps pounding away.
So let's talk about the Giants a little bit. Hartley says they lost a safety and they lost David Mayo as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Mayo, yeah.
Yep.
So that opens up the door for Ryan Connolly if he comes back healthy.
He just practiced today. Tweeted that out this morning.
There you go.
He came back to practice today, so
good timing. He saw an opportunity and said, "Let me get in there before I get my job away."
That knee's feeling better. Get me in there, coach. Yeah, I mean it's a big opportunity for him to get an upper hand in that job. I always thought I think he's more talented than Mayo anyway.
I do too. I liked him a lot.
It's just a matter of they were going to battle for that spot, and with Mayo being out a little bit, kind of gives him an edge to get in there and show he's ready.
Looking inside, you have Tay Crowder was a 7th-round pick. Connolly, we said, was a 5th-round pick last year. T.J. Brunson was another 7th-round pick, and Josiah Tuefa, they picked up off the street last year. He was a very highly rated linebacker, and then he kind of disappeared. So any one of those guys besides Connolly you think can step up? I don't think they're trusting a rookie necessarily. But again, Martinez can cover a lot of the second inside guy. He can cover a lot of their mistakes, I think.
Well, think about too is their scheme. I mean, look at like Miami. Patrick Graham's coming from Miami, and the way they were operating in Miami is that their second interior guy was a part-time guy. They used Raycon Millen in a part-time role, and then they had a guy. They used Sam Eguavoen in a kind of a switchable spot where he's playing some inside, playing some outside, and so I'm looking at Martinez is playing a similar role that Jerome Baker played last year, and where he's the weak side linebacker, and he's really got to do most of the cleanup out there, and there's not really a lot of competition for him in sense of no one else is going to be full time and in the way that you would have in Dallas, for example, where you have two main guys. But that being said, is I do wonder how much Martinez will be playing in the middle versus will he be playing on the edge the way some of these weak side linebackers are. That could be something, but it may be that with Mayo now gone, because Mayo is a good run stuffer, a good gap filler in the middle. It may be that they do need to just keep Martinez right in the middle as much as possible and have him soak up everything. And it's really going to depend on, I think, on how well Conley comes along. And Conley was actually pretty good in that weak side role too. I mean, he wasn't David Mayo. David Mayo is that prototypical middle linebacker that would have been a 3-down player in 1995. Whereas Conley's a little different.
They run a 4-3.
Sir?
They run
We've
the
got a lot of
4-3,
guys.
right?
The Giants
they
are going to play, well, they're
they
playing
run a
nominally
back
4-3
3-4.
system, but they don't have a traditional defensive end to hold down that one spot. So
Yes.
they're going to
Right.
have to show a lot of the 3-4 looks that Miami showed last year, and Miami had the same problem. And they started off with some guy named Ledbetter in week 1, and he got hurt immediately,
Right.
went in IR. They picked up Taco Charleston. He didn't do anything. He's in KC now. You know, they had to play 3-4.
I could really see Martinez in the middle with Conley there too, but they have Lorenzo Carter, so he's going to be one of those outside linebackers.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just going to depend on who that other guy is on the outside if they're running a
Marcus
3-4 sets. Well, there you go. There's you're going to see Carter and probably Golden on the outside, and then it's probably going to be Martinez and Conley in the middle if Conley's ready to go. So
Yeah.
I could see that very well being your 4 right there.
Yeah.
Kyler Fackrell will, be one of those guys on the edge. They'll rotate through.
Yeah.
He'll be a
one thing-
Jimenez, too.
And I don't want to bring up corners again because God forbid we talk about corners from.
And you like corners.
Show.
Here we go. That's all he can talk about.
Have you seen the poop show? Speaking of the porta potties, have you seen their secondary?
Oh, I'm signing the next week. I'll be suiting up in their left cornerback spot.
Okay, so here's the starting secondary for
I'm putting in for Tripp.
the New York Football Giants. Okay, Jabril Peppers, he's it.
Yeah.
Julian Love, I like his talent, but I prefer him play corner. They might need him to play corner because I'm about to tell you the corners that are going to play for the New York Football Giants. James Bradbury, okay. He's a legit guy. Okay. Montre Hartage. Can somebody tell me anything about Montre Hartage besides he's signed from Miami? He played in Miami, which is probably why he's here, the connection to the coach. But can anybody tell me anything about Montre Hartage?
I don't know. I think Tripp's going to give him a run when he puts his cleats on, though.
That's right. My 7 flat 40 time is good.
Grant Haley, anybody?
Grant Haley, yeah, he's been there a couple of years. They put him out there in the slot and benched him because he was bad last year. So.
I say he's been there a couple of years. Doesn't mean he's any good.
No, agreed.
Yeah, he's bounced around. He's played a little safety, a little corner for him. Nothing to get excited about at all. Just
let's see. We have a bunch of undrafted free agents: Christian Angelou, Jaron Williams, Darnay Holmes is a 4th-round pick, and somehow he's at like the back end of the depth chart. So they must have missed on that one because they already don't like that.
I've read that he's in contention to start.
He probably should, given these other things.
Update their stuff.
And I haven't mentioned Corey Ballentine yet.
Right.
He was a rookie last year, 6th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
But with Xavier McKinney going down, that means Love's going to have to play safety, and I don't know that they really wanted that to be the case. I think they would have preferred.
I think he'll be all right, though.
Outside. I think it'll be okay, but so if I'm the Eagles and Cowboys, do I even bother with a running game against the Giants? I can win my running game in the 4th quarter when I'm trying to kill 15 minutes because I'm going to torch them for 40 points through the air.
Yep.
I mean, can you imagine these three corners lining up against Cooper, Lamb, and I'm forgetting the other guy.
Michael Gallup.
Michael Gallup, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to torch them. But then again, the Giants will do something stupid. They'll scheme it some way that they'll get so much pressure on Dak that he'll throw like 5 interceptions because that's what the Giants do. They win when you have no faith in them at all whatsoever. So,
well, think about what Graham had to deal with in Miami last year. We got, the stat that I hear a lot on podcasts is that Miami ran out 14 quarterbacks last year. The Giants are going to have to do the same thing. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me all the Peppers and Martinez this year, especially on Sleeper. Yeah, Peppers, I don't know why he's listed as a linebacker on Sleeper. I mean, he's the same as like a Malcolm Jenkins that just plays up the line. I mean, or Yeah.
Yeah.
You could say that about any safety because, a lot of safeties do creep up.
Mm-hmm.
We already got to the Kyle helping us out. That's something, hit us
Good
up.
job, Kyle.
Always available.
Always. So we talked, and I don't want to talk about IDP Nation too much, but we talked about what we wanted to hear about on IDP Nation going forward. The poll results basically said they want us to look forward. And our buddy Peter said he wanted to hear about injuries. So the problem with injuries is when we record on Tuesday nights, there ain't anything available.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't want to plan too much for this show because I still want to keep it open-ended. But Friday nights are going to be a good time for us to talk about injuries and to get into that injury stuff because the information is pretty fresh. By Friday, we have a pretty good indication of who's playing and who's not.
Because
So
don't they have to?
That's a really good
Is
point.
it
Dan.
Friday the day that they have to have the injuries in? They have to have them declared like they're probable or whatever. Isn't it Friday or is it Saturday? I can't remember.
Well, Thursday, they have to report who practiced and who didn't, and they have to put a tag on it on Thursday. That's as if you play if you play on Sunday. Friday is when you see a lot of teams commit one way or the other because they have to make travel arrangements.
Yep.
Now, some teams like the Patriots will wait until Saturday to say, Gronk's not traveling with the team as they did so many times a few years ago. They just would have guys not make the trip. And you knew they were inactive because, hey, they didn't get on the team plane and fly to wherever they're playing. It's pretty obvious. But yeah, so injuries are going to be something that we tackle here on this show. I know it's still preseason, and I know some people are, I'm sure, sick to death about hearing about the hype talk. We just want some football. Which brings me to one thing. We got some college football getting played tomorrow night, if you want to call it that.
Hallelujah.
Who is it? Austin P and Central Arkansas?
Yep. Oh, I'll be tuned in. Cordell Jackson, cornerback for Austin P. Oh, yeah.
I'll watch it just because it's football and it actually counts for something, and it's not just gym shorts and shoulder pads. So
I'll be texting Daryl for the Debbie report before the game.
That's right.
Who do I watch?
Hell yeah. There's actually quite a few high school games on tomorrow, too.
Ooh, high school games for the high schools that are playing.
Yeah, they're actually Dion's son, Shadur Sanders, he will be in Knoxville about an hour away from me tomorrow. It's sold out. Standing room only.
Where did he commit?
He's in. I don't know where he committed, but it's Trinity something high school, and they're coming up to play a Knoxville team, Knox Catholic. So be interesting to see how he does. I think it's on TV actually too. ESPN maybe.
Probably. ESPN doesn't have much else to show. I mean, they do have. Basketball and hockey are resuming tomorrow. So when the Flyers are in intermission, I'll flip around, I guess, a little bit. Let's go Flyers. I had a point to get to. So Yahoo. So we have a Campus to Canton League going.
Oh yeah.
But do we? With two conferences opting out, what do we? And this would be a good conversation to have with Eric, I guess. But with two conferences opting out. Although now there's rumors that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 want to start around Thanksgiving.
Oh my God! What losers!
What would be bad about that? It'd be like having two college seasons.
They should have just cooled their jets and followed what the SEC and the ACC was doing. But no, we're going to cancel our season. Now they're eating crow, and they can't backpedal fast enough.
Well, Thanksgiving is a generous break. I think it gives them a chance to see how the other colleges handle it.
Well, I don't know a ton about this, but what I will say is that the University of South Carolina they had a game plan whereby they were going to be in person until Thanksgiving, and then they were going to complete the semester. You've got what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks left after Thanksgiving. They were planning to complete the semester virtually because the models, whatever the models are, were projecting that the coronavirus would spike or increase in something. And because of that, they would need to stay home. And so then the Big Ten says, well, we canceled because of coronavirus, but then we're going to go live when flu season and coronavirus season spike back up. Now, don't trust me as an expert on this, but I thought that was odd. And it makes me wonder, back to Daryl's point, if they canceled, they thought, yeah, the SEC and the ACC, they'll cancel too. And then they didn't. They're like, oh crap. Because to me, the biggest problem the Big Ten and Pac-10 have now is recruiting. You got the other three conferences, they're on the field, and the Big Ten and Pac-10 like, we're not playing. I mean, that's a kick in the shins for those conferences if they don't show up. But so, there's a whole lot of variables out there. That's got to be a tough thing for all of them.
They absolutely
high school players can't play either.
What's that now?
Yeah, for the high school players that their school decided not to hold the sport.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're not getting a chance to show their skills. Some of the, especially juniors, seniors for the most part, they're signed, sealed, and already got their prospects in. But you have some seniors that prop up that have show out, and they end up getting something. A walk-on scholarship, something like that, maybe a JUCO scholarship, something like that. But yeah, I think it should be interesting. Like everything else, it's a wait and see kind of thing, and it'll be interesting. Switching gears here, Bob has a question. Who is the most overvalued player in IDP this year? It's a pretty good one. That's overvalued, overhyped, not worth it.
Oh, wow. Overvalued.
I should just say Blake Martinez and hang up down. I'm not going to. I drafted Blake Martinez quite a few times this season. So
let me give you all a hot take then. To me, the guy that's in the top 5 that I think should be outside the top 12 is Jalen Smith. I think that with the change,
that's a good one.
I think with the change in scheme, people are expecting stats to look too much like they did last year for the Cowboys linebackers. And what they don't realize is that Rod Marinelli's scheme enabled their defensive linemen to get upfield and just ignore their gap responsibilities. And then the safeties, they sat back in the cover 3, and the linebackers just had to clean up everything in the middle. And that's not what Mike Nolan's going to do. They're going to have more gap integrity on that D line. And they've got Jalen Smith now moving out to the weak side linebacker position. He'll have some more responsibilities on the edge. And that role could look a little bit more like Demario Davis's. And the reason Demario Davis is an LB1 is because he's just piling up big plays. And he's still only like an LB 10, overall on rankings or, total points per game. And so to me, that's Jalen Smith's ceiling in that role. And we got folks out there that think Jalen Smith's an LB4, LB5 overall. And I'm fading at that point. I'm okay with Leighton Vander Esch as the LB10, LB15, where I see folks have him, but I think that Jalen Smith needs to be faded at the ADP.
I agree.
Yeah, at the ADP, he is a tough pill to swallow because he's getting drafted as a top 5 linebacker. I'm going to go with my guy from last year, and I think a new situation isn't going to help him any. Corey Littleton is still viewed as a top 5 guy. He kind of has ADP drop a little bit this year, but I just don't see it.
Kwiatkowski's going to take a lot of tackles from him.
He's playing in the middle, and he's going to play weak side. And he had Littleton had a few really big plays, and don't get me wrong, he made some great plays last year. A couple touchdowns, and were those being in the right place, the right time, him being in his right position and making a play, or a mix of the two. I think the Raiders play more of a 4-3. That does change a little bit. And like you said, Kwiatkowski's going to be the guy in the middle. If we have our green dot alert, he's going to be the green dot guy. It seems like.
Yep.
Yep. That was going to be my pick too, Dan. I agree. Littleton's so good in coverage. He might be in coverage more than we like, and
I take a lot of heat for my hate of Corey Littleton.
I like Corey Littleton. I do, but I'm a fan of his game. But yeah, I do like Kwiatkowski there, and like you said, him wearing the green dot. I think he might lead the team in tackles over Littleton. But another guy too that I don't know if he's getting overhyped or not, but I haven't really been drafted much is Jordan Hicks in Arizona.
I just fear injuries.
What's that?
I just fear him playing 16 games.
That's the thing, the injury risk, and I know last year he was great and all, but then with all the different parts there now with Devondre Campbell and Isaiah Simmons, and what are we going to do with him? Where's he going to be? And Buda Baker's going to be making plays. He just got paid. I guess he's a guy I haven't really been drafting. That's about the two that stick out to me, I guess.
Daryl, how about you? Who do you hate?
I'm with Tripp. It's got to be Jalen Smith. I think with the position change there for him from inside to outside, I think that hits him a lot. And then I'm with you on Littleton too. I think Kwiatkowski's going to take a lot of tackles away from him. I kind of see Littleton and Smith as basically the same guy in a lot of ways. Just not crazy about him playing on the outside there. I'd rather have that middle guy. So yeah.
So what happens when Leighton Vander Esch possibly? I'm not wishing anything, but what happens when he gets hurt though? Doesn't Jalen Smith then?
Yeah, I think he's got to kick back inside. I would imagine.
I mean, Sean Lee played middle linebacker earlier in his career. How they decide to fortify that this year, I don't know. But
he said Sean Lee. How funny is that? Sean Lee is lucky to still have a job.
Sean Lee played fairly effectively last year when pressed into service. I mean,
yeah,
he did. He actually did fairly well last year.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's why they brought him back.
But as their third linebacker, you got to love that. I mean, if you've got Jalen Smith and LVE, then it makes it a lot easier to have Sean Lee as your third guy there. So I mean, he's no slouch as an LB3 on your team,
Right.
So I can see why that happens. Now, if LVE gets hurt, like you said, then for me, I think you got to move Smith back inside and then see what you've got behind him on the outside there. But for me, I'm moving Smith back inside.
Anybody have a non-linebacker? Because we named all linebackers. Any overhyped non-linebacker?
I'm trying to think.
I'd say Shaquille Barrett is an edge player.
Yeah.
I just want to say the word edge to.
I feel like I should be offended by that, but I don't know what that word is. So
I'll give you both Cincinnati Bengals returning cornerbacks, Sean Williams and Jesse Bates. I like Von Bell there just fine. In fact, I'm finding that he's a good value in drafts, but I'm not going back to the well with either Sean Williams or Jesse Bates. I don't expect Sean Williams to be a full-time player. I don't really know why you draft a guy who's not a full-time player. Jesse Bates, I think, will be full-time, but I think the issue with him that he's been able to pile up tackles because so many plays get to the third level because that defense has been so bad. With the number of players that they've added, the linebackers that they've added, you've got to think that they've shorted up to the point. You gotta expect some regression in snap counts. I mean, they led the AFC in defensive snaps, if I recall correctly, and you can't forecast that again. I mean, I don't expect the Bengals to be great, but are they really going to play another 1,100 snaps on defense like they have the last 2 years? So that's a guy that I would expect to have fewer tackles. Therefore,
so let me put Daryl a minute here because Daryl says Logan Wilson is going to be the man. So if Logan Wilson is the man, then that automatically is going to cut the knees out from Jesse Bates.
I think it kills Jermaine Pratt more than it kills Bates. Bates is going to be fine back there as a safety. The odd man out is going to be Sean Williams. It's going to be Bates and Von Bell back there. Williams, I've heard rumors, could play down in the box. You hear these things.
The box safety. That's what he did in New Orleans.
Right.
That's what they brought him over to do. I think the combination of if Logan Wilson is as good as you're saying he is, which you've been touting him, told me he's going to be the best rookie, period.
I think he can be. Yeah, I really do.
Then
They're going to be on the field a lot.
Then him and Von Bell alone are going to kind of take the knees.
You're going to see a triangle. I think you're going to see Bates and Bell and Wilson. That triangle right up the middle of that defense is where it's going to come from.
What do y'all think about that second inside linebacker job in Cincinnati? Do you think I hear nothing about Akeem Davis Gaither, and there were some folks that really liked him pre-draft, and
I think he's a little banged up. I don't think he's going to be available necessarily.
Yeah, I like him. I just think he could be. I think he could be a year or so away a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I like
that knee injury.
Yeah,
he had a knee injury there, and it kind of sent him back. But I was a big fan of Davis Gaither. I liked his talent. He's a real athletic guy, and he put for a smaller linebacker, I guess, a little slender. He really played physical. He'd come up and stick you, and he was. I really liked his game, and I think he slipped to the fourth round because of that knee injury.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, he's an impact player. I mean, you go back and look at what he did against North Carolina last year.
Yes,
the sacks and that was his best game, and he dominated that game.
Yes, he's a big time player for sure.
Well, what's interesting to me is that people think that Sean Williams might actually hold some value as a weak side linebacker in that defense. Why would you play Davis Gaither ahead of him? I didn't think that Sean Williams was exactly good in that role down there. I mean, they pressed him into service out of necessity.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good point. I agree. Yeah.
And just a quick shout out here, when anybody who's listening, if there's a IDP Devi type of question, when Daryl says that somebody is good, I'm listening.
Yes, sir.
I'm not out there watching a ton of college tape. I like to watch NFL tape and see what defenses are doing. But my man, Daryl, my man, if he says that Logan Wilson is good, I'm listening. I'm eager to see what Logan Wilson can do in that defense, and he's a guy that I pushed up my board.
I just think he's going to be too good for them to keep off the field. I mean, Vontez Burfict's gone. All those guys are gone that they've had in the past. Who was it? Preston Brown's done.
Nick Vigil, Jordan Evans.
Yeah, I mean, the whole list. I mean, Pratt is going to get a look because they drafted him last year. I think they're going to give him a look, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe kick to the outside maybe a little bit. I just think Logan Wilson is going to be too good to keep off the field, and he's going to have a role there.
Yeah. Jermaine Pratt just wasn't that good last year. I mean, he started to figure out a little bit towards the end, but I've heard folks talk about he was so good when he got on the field. It's like, was he?
Honestly,
if not Cincinnati.
If he was that good, do you think they would have drafted Logan Wilson?
Exactly, and Davis Gaither. I mean, they used 2 picks on linebacker and signed.
They drafted
I almost
Bailey
compare
too.
Wilson and Akeem Davis Gaither. I want to say a poor man, but that's not right. They're almost a poor man's Patrick Queen and Malik Harrison.
Yep.
They're that same. They're that same combo. They are.
Same deal. That's right. Yep. Downhill linebacker and Gaither and Harrison and the read and react guy and Wilson and Queen. I like it. That's a good call.
Yeah,
it is.
No, and Daryl, you can get both of them much cheaper than you can those other two too.
Absolutely. Gaither is like, it costs nothing nowhere. I mean, I got the eliminator. We're like 40 rounds deep, and Gaither's still on the freaking wire.
I think in my
ADP, going to play much this year.
He was going like pick 70. So,
So Daryl, we got that league that we are in on ESPN that we got to select a keeper, but I can't see who I even had last year. So,
oh my God, we're still in that league.
Apparently, yeah. I guess we're in drafts soon.
What the hell?
Look at Johnny's comment in the chat there.
Yeah.
Who's Johnny? I don't know Johnny.
Oh, I ain't got the chat.
I don't either. I don't see it.
Here.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's the Aaron Rodgers got his cheek split by Hunter week 1. Have a good show, fellas.
That's right, Johnny.
That's a response to this.
Thanks, Johnny.
That's right.
Is Hunter going to miss his line mates? We got Johnny's take on that.
I don't think he's going to.
I'm assuming that means Danielle Hunter will splat him a couple times, so to speak. But or sack. But yeah, I don't think he will. I think he's talented enough.
Griffin missed a couple of years ago. He missed a bunch of games with that mental health issue.
I think
and Hunter never missed a beat, man. I'm
They
telling you.
rolled out Stephen Weatherly. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Linval Hunter hurt worse. I think,
Yeah.
than-
Yes,
than
yes.
Griffin.
Yes. Yeah, the Linval Joseph Locks is big. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey! Look who we have here. Ethan,
So,
what's going on?
so I'll be totally honest. I have made a massive mistake. I swear I thought this was happening at 9 Central, and I was still late to that.
Is there a different time besides East Coast time?
Is there a different time besides
I was
Central?
not aware. There's
Because
not a time that's
Having
it's-
never lived in another time zone, I forget that I have to ask. I am so incredibly sorry that I just rolled in here an hour late. And I was like literally so we were in town, like eating dinner, having a good time. And I'm like, oh, it's 8:00. I got time. Let's run to Walmart. And so we ran to Walmart, and then we got out of the Walmart 20 minutes ago, which is still 20 minutes from my house. And I was like, I'm timing this so beautifully. And I pulled open Twitter to like message, be like, hey, I'm going to be there like right at 9. And I saw your message that you were like, hey, going live now. And then my brain, like, it all came together. And I just realized the colossal error that I had made. I just wasn't even in the right time zone at all. So I'm very sorry about that. Like, that is.
So it was a good Walmart story. What did you see in Walmart? What was exciting?
Oh my God.
So
I'm scared to hear this.
And by the way, Ethan, I said that you were not coming on at the beginning of the show because you wanted to give us an opportunity to speak.
What the hell is that supposed to mean, Dan?
You're like the wind toy that you just you crank the wind up a couple times and you're
I'm offended. I'm leaving. I'll see you guys at 8 Central next week. Bull crap.
8 Central would be 9. Would be regular time then.
Yeah. See, if you had said 8, because I looked back because I felt so bad. I'm like, God, did you say 9 Eastern time? And I screwed this up. No, we'll go live at 9. I'll send you the link around 1:15. And so I hadn't even considered at any point that there was another 9 besides my 9, because obviously
there is no other 9 but 9
like the rest of my world, it all revolves around like Ethan.
That's right.
And
When you watch a national football coverage, what's the first time they give?
I don't give a crap what time they give because I don't.
So how do you figure that out when they say, "Oh, next week at 1:00 Eastern, 4:00 Pacific, or 10:00 Pacific"? How do you figure out what time to tune in? You have to do the math automatically in your head.
Here's the thing. Obviously, it's designed to be Central Time because the games start at noon, which is the perfect time to start a game. Nobody wants to start a game at 1:00 in the afternoon.
What about the
At
people who go
noon,
to church at noon?
boom. Why do you go to church at noon if you like football?
I don't know. I'm just
I don't
saying.
know anybody that likes football that's like, you know what?
You know-
I'm gonna volunteer to go to
Hey.
the church at noon.
Homer Simpson was constantly trying to watch football in church.
That's a cartoon character. It's fictional. He's fictional. Just like Eastern Standard
I
Time.
thought he was real.
Oh, Eastern Standard Time's not fictional. You want to talk about what's
It is to
fictional?
me.
No, it's,
You know what's fictional? Australian time, because they're just a whole day ahead of us,
God.
like somehow.
they're like
What
a
the
week
heck,
ahead of us, and I don't even know how the
We'll
hell
have
that
the Aussie
happens.
guys on next week. So the Aussie guys. So then we will be on broadcast, Twitter and all this stuff in 2 different days. We will not only be Friday night, but we will also be Saturday morning.
Think about this though. They have Tuesday night football. How awesome is that?
Tuesday night footy.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, they have Tuesday morning football, don't they?
Maybe. I don't know how
Monday
far
night
ahead
would be
you are.
Yeah. It's sometime Tuesday.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
crazy. Yeah, whatever time it is Tuesday.
That's right. Beer 30.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can have breakfast taco Tuesday.
There you go.
Oh man. So Ethan, we talked about some of your favorite players. We talked about Jordan Hicks, and Daryl swears he's injury prone.
Who? Jordan Hicks?
Jordan Hicks, yeah.
Whoa. Why are you dragging me into this?
Well,
That's not what I said. I did not say no such thing.
Sure.
I don't know what I said, but it wasn't that.
So I'm sure we prepped you not at all, and that's the way this show rolls.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered if you prepped me anyway because I showed up an hour late. So clearly I wasn't putting much effort in tonight. Clearly, I don't even have a beer next to me or a margarita. So I'm having
shame on you.
It's probably not going very well for Ethan. Well, what did you want me to do? I literally sprinted in from my garage. I was like, and I sprinted.
So Mac Wilson, he hyperextended his knee.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
There seems to be no structural damage. He's not doing surgery, and I've heard murmurings of early season he might actually get to play. And it did look pretty ugly.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that. I really did. Watching the video, I really thought that he might have tore his ACL. And so it looks like it is best case scenario, which is just an LCL tear. And the LCL actually heals pretty well on its own. It's pretty rare that you'll need to have surgery. So, I mean, that is a win if you're a Mac Wilson fan, because watching the video, I was convinced. I'm like, that knee exploded. I watched it. So he really did luck out if he doesn't end up needing surgery. Right. And we lucked out because we could potentially see Mac Wilson play again this year. So that's good. The Browns have horrible luck right now. Just really bad. I mean, Grant Delpit going down. I mean, here's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
An Achilles tear, that's an old guy injury. That's a weekend warrior. That's a me
hitting the elliptical too hard. Right?
That's Ethan running in to make it to the podcast injury. This is not what you would expect a rookie, somebody young, to have. But we're seeing it a little bit more often now than we used to. Used to be it was the textbook, like, I'm playing pickup on the weekends and I tore my Achilles. And now it seems like every year I see one or two younger guys with an Achilles tear. And I just wonder, one, what are they doing? What drill? Is it a drill? Is it a certain, I know the movement, obviously I understand the mechanism of it, but I'm just curious kind of, are we putting them in a position where this is more likely? Are they doing a lot of hard plant, backpedaling and then planting hard backwards, which would extend the Achilles? I don't know, but I know that we're seeing it more often in football than we used to. And I think that's, or at least we're hearing about it more often in football. And I think that's not ideal. But the good news is we're seeing people come back from an Achilles. That used to be like a death sentence. And now we're seeing, guys like Emmanuel Sanders have come back. Richard Sherman came back from his. So we're seeing some examples now. The NFL's starting to figure it out, similar to after Adrian Peterson, how they kind of figured out how ACLs work and how to properly rehab them and get them back efficiently without too much of an increased risk of injuring themselves again. They're still obviously going to have some compensatory issues that next year, but we're starting to get there with the Achilles, and we're starting to get there with a patella tendon rupture, which is what Will Disley had. That used to be Jimmy Graham before him. That used to be another one that, if you had a patella tendon rupture, your career's over. And so it is amazing. Will
Disley's practicing.
Oh, yeah, and he's had both, which is God, what just absolute terrible luck. I mean, it really is shit luck, because one, neither one of them is super common. Two, to get them right back to back like that, I mean, I say it all the time. It's one of my 3 injuries that I hate to see. I do not want to see 3 things. I don't want to see Achilles rupture. I don't want to see a patella tendon rupture, and I don't want to see an ACL knee dislocation, which is where they basically tear the whole knee up. Think like Teddy Bridgewater. So, I mean, those are the 3 things that I'm like, gosh, you really don't want to see that. Or labral tears with quarterbacks, but that's kind of more specific. But just in general, you don't want to see those 3 things.
Yeah. Anybody got any other injury dirt they want here? I won't.
Did they give the specific on McKinney's broken foot?
They haven't yet, but I'm assuming that it's one of 2 things almost always. If it's a foot, it's either a Jones fracture or Liz Frank injury.
Okay.
Well, I saw something. They said
I think I heard Jones fracture.
They said it was the 5th metatarsal, which is
that's a Jones fracture.
Yeah, similar to the Jones fracture. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what a Jones fracture is. It's just a fancier way to say it. But yeah, that's, I mean, not ideal. It's going to probably, I would assume, given his age, they're going to give him the whole year to recover. He could potentially come back. It sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, there's just not much you can really do about it. You're going to have surgery. They're going to put basically a screw all the way through the long bone and secure it, wait for it to heal, and then sometimes you'll have to go in and actually take that hardware back out once you're done. They are very common for these to be something that they have to have 2 surgeries for, just because either it doesn't heal correctly or the screw itself gets bent while they're just like going through their lives. Because that 5th metatarsal, the problem is if you run on the outside of your feet, that is the bone you're hitting in the middle every time you run. And so when you're cutting and planning to the opposite direction, you're putting 100% of your force, typically about 250% of your body weight is the force that you're driving. And these guys are driving probably closer to 300 or 400% of their body weight are driving straight into that very tiny bone that's this big and this wide. Like it's just one of those things that when it happens, it's very common that you'll end up having issues with it down the road again.
Isn't that what Hollywood Brown just had done? He had that screw taken out of that same situation for the Ravens.
So Hollywood Brown had a Liz Frank injury, which is a little bit different. But yes, another, just really with any foot injury, but with Jones and Liz Frank, it's common for them to go back in and actually remove the hardware later because it serves its purpose and they don't want the hardware to become its own separate issue.
Right.
Didn't Derwin James, when he said the bent screw, isn't that what happened with his foot? I believe they had to go back in or something. Yeah.
Yes, they had to go. So I'm trying to remember. There was another one, another player. The screw. Greg Olson had the same issue, where basically the screw became the second issue. So the fix for the first fracture became the issue the second time, and he had a bent screw. And I believe you're right. I do feel like that was, gosh, what was even the name you just said? Sorry, my brain was working too fast.
Derwin James. Yeah.
Derwin James. Yeah.
Derwin James. Yeah.
I do feel like both of those situations were the screw bent, and then it was like, well, we got to take this out now. It's not doing anything.
Yep.
So yeah, it is common. Again, just so much force going through that very small bone.
You know, when I hear Jones and Liz Frank together, it makes me think of like a power couple, like Joan and Liz Frank, like.
Liz Frank Jones, 2020.
Liz Frank Jones, 2020. Because they just kill your entire fantasy team, basically.
Yeah, I don't play around with foot injuries. I'm out. If I see a foot injury, I'm out. That being said, I do think I'm in on Debo. He's like creeping right back up where I was because he had a huge injury discount. And I said it when it happened. I'm like, give him. He's got the typical return. If he makes it, if he doesn't return for 10 weeks, usually the results are much better. If you try to return faster than 10 weeks, the likelihood that you re-injure goes up like tenfold. And so the fact that he had 12 weeks, now he's at the 10-week mark. So now we're starting to see some positive news come in. You're starting to see, he's getting ready to run 100%. Running is different from cutting 100%, but still it's good to see. What we're hoping for is that he doesn't stay on the PUP. We don't want him to start on the reserve PUP because then you're guaranteed he misses 6 weeks. If he doesn't get put on the PUP, you can promise that he'll play within the first 6 weeks. And, there's no guarantee that they'll play him, but what they're really saying is we're going to play him. We're going to play him before the end of the 6 weeks. So I'm still not 100% on him being back by week 1, but week 3 is looking a lot more likely than it was, even 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Is there any chance that Debo from Friday comes and has a visit with Kyle Shanahan and says, "You're not going to put him on the PUP"? Debo. That steals everybody's bike.
I mean, he might. I don't know. I don't feel like either one of them really gets a choice. I mean, Debo has some say, but Shanahan doesn't really have a choice. If the medical staff says you can't play, you can't play.
Well, no, Debo from Friday would just pick the guy up and say,
Debo. I would expect Debo to kind of bully the medical staff into this, but there's no way to guarantee that happens. I don't know. I'm not in there. So
I just assumed that all the Debos have a club. Did you know that Deion Jones's nickname is Debo? That was on Pro Football Reference. They had little nicknames next to their names on Pro Football Reference. Yeah.
Well, he's lost to that because when I hear Debo, I don't think of Deion Jones.
I definitely don't. This is the first time I've ever seen that. So
that's a good entry question, though, Dan.
Yes.
Would Deion Jones been impacted somehow by his recovery such that he would have been limited last year, and therefore could he return this year to his 2017, 2018 form? I think a lot of folks look for that.
Yeah, I think that typically you're waiting a year, especially with a major injury. Usually I'm down on players the year they get hurt or the year after they get hurt if it's a major issue. Once they get a full off season to recover, and not just recovery, but actually train and get back up to speed, then I'm much more on board with drafting that player.
So I think a good example of that is DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence, we talked about last offseason, had the shoulder surgery real late and never seemed to really have any power, any of his rush moves really pan out that much last year. So
I think I warned you guys about last year.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to count my – but I'm fairly certain that I said that could happen. And so I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there's a reason that they call me the injury savant. Sometimes I hit hard. And so you don't have to like it. You just have to accept it.
And that was
is that really what they call you, the injury savant?
You can ask my bro, D-Bro. Derek Brown gave me that nickname when we worked for 24/7. He called me injury savant. It's my favorite nickname
I believe you.
Been given.
That's kind of classy. I like
it. Hartley, and you can talk about the truth in the correlation between ACLs and hammy injuries.
Ooh, good
the
question.
Following year when they're coming back.
Yeah, it's very common. I don't have the exact number in front of me. Again, I did no prep work for this show and showed up an hour late.
Shame on you.
We don't really want a whole lot of prep for this.
I didn't know that I'd be hit with this. But yeah, there is evidence that supports that the compensatory injuries or strains and sprains are more likely the direct year after, and the likelihood increases if they try to recover faster than 9 months or 12 months. Wow. If you have a mid-season ACL tear and you don't get a full 12 months to recover, you're more likely to end up with a compensatory injury the following season because you're rushing your rehab. And it's amazing. Has anyone torn their ACL in this group?
No.
Anyone ever had an ACL tear? Okay, but so here's the thing. It's like when I treat people in real life that have ACL tears, it's not like you just bounce back. When I treat people in real life that have an Achilles tear, they don't just they're not running and cutting and jumping at 9 months. That's just, they might, and you might, especially with an ACL, if it's a pure ACL, I might be able to get them back to sports in 6 or 7 months, but they're not trying to get back to NFL level sports. Right. So
Right.
To try to rehab a professional athlete, and I've got buddies that do this all the time, so I know what it's like from their experiences, what they tell me. It's a totally different, your goals are completely different. I mean, your timelines are completely different. You know, when you're spending millions of dollars on a guy, you don't want to necessarily rush him into something, but you also don't want to you're not going to give him all the time in the world to do it. Like, he has to get back on the field. And so it's amazing with certain things, they get back, weeks faster than, months faster than a normal person. They're running and cutting it 3 months and, well, not with ACLs, but they're running it 3 months. Most of the time, I'm barely getting people that, they're hopefully walking somewhat normally at 3 months. NFL players are running and cutting at 6 months, and I'm hoping that I can get them to, trying to progress them, a normal person, to functioning sports. And so it's just amazing to me, just the difference and how much pressure there is to get these players back as quickly as possible, and just the physical limitations of the body that these guys have to deal with. I mean, you can't rush certain things. I always say, like, when I see a broken, like they break their arm and they're like, well, I think he could be back to playing football in 6 weeks. And I'm like, well, it takes 8 weeks for the bone to heal. So how is that even possible? I mean, it's possible because they have infinite resources. If I had infinite money and a full training staff, I could probably get you back on. I could probably heal people much faster than what I do, but I don't. So that's why these guys get back faster, so much better with like an ankle sprain. You have a high ankle sprain, and something that would affect any of us on this chat would be a 4-month injury, and we'd still be hobbling around, worried that we're not running yet. Saquon Barkley can return to NFL level production at 3 weeks. Like, it's just superhuman in some ways. Like, there's no compensating for, one, they're the 1% of the 1% of athletes, and two, they have unlimited resources. That's all they do is rehab. So it's truly incredible. There's times where I see players come back and I'm like, holy crap, how is that even possible? But then I think, like, oh, this is an elite athlete and they have literally unlimited resources. Anything they need, they will get.
So the comment. So I'm assuming Preston Williams is who we're talking about. Are you out on him this year?
I would say the price for Preston Williams makes him still worth it to me. You're getting an injury discount with him. If he had continued the pace that he was on all of last season, we're talking about drafting him where we're drafting Devontae Parker right now. And so for me, the price, like, what are you even paying for him right now? Like a 12th rounder, 13th maybe, roughly. So to me, the injury is baked in. He's your 5th wide receiver. You're looking for upside there. And so he has looked really good in camp. One thing that I like to note that I haven't been able to prove that this makes a difference, but it seems like it does. Players that have torn an ACL before tend to do really well recovering from the second one. And I don't know if that's a mental thing. They know they can get back from it. I don't know if it's a emotional thing, like they're almost like more motivated now because they know what they're about to do, or if they're just the experience of having had it done before translates straight to the second one and they tend to have better results. But we've seen it with Deshaun Watson. We've seen it now, with I'm struggling with names. We're hopefully going to see it with Marcus Bailey, the linebacker for the Browns. But
Bengals.
Bengals, sorry. I knew it was something with a B.
One of them Ohio teams. They don't
but I'm sorry. That's my bad.
Speaking of the Bengals, we were talking about Akeem Davis Gaither earlier, and we were talking a little bit about how we're kind of out on him this year, but his future looks pretty good. He is coming off of an injury. Did you guys have the injury details? Because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, I can't remember exactly.
Well, I know it was his knee.
His knee,
There was a knee issue there.
Yeah.
Let me see. I probably have it in my rookie injury guide.
I can't remember what it was right off the top
Yes.
of my head.
Which you can still get
You can.
at.
thefantasyheadliners.com.
There
You
you
can find it on there. If you just type in 2020 rookie injury guide, you can also, I think it's the first thing that shows up.
Stress
At
fracture.
least
Poor Ethan, he is
Yeah.
just all out of whack tonight.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm sorry.
You want to hear something really funny? And this is all fair. This is a Twitter chat. And the problem with Twitter chats is when you have too many of them, sometimes you put stuff in the wrong places. So I was trying to give Daryl our Patreon link because he wanted our Patreon link. So I copied and pasted it and put it into the chat that we had with Ethan and Hollywood. And Ethan's like, so is this a hint that I should join Patreon?
Yes, it is, Ethan.
Yeah, he was like, hey, join the he's like, hey, join the show.
Yes, but it's funny.
You gonna
because
come
I
on the show?
remember-
And I'm like, yeah, man, absolutely. I'll be there an hour late. And he turns around. He turns around and sends me a link to his Patreon. And I'm like, do I have to fucking join the Patreon to be on the show?
Yeah, that's the
Which is
penalty.
kind of ironic.
Which is funny.
We debuted the Patreon on the episode that you were on.
The last one that I showed up on time.
Yes, you were on time for that.
And I'm pretty sure I told you, I gave you a full lecture. My wife, actually, when we got done with that, she was like, dude, why were you lecturing them about how to do their stuff? That's not your job. I gave you a full lecture about how you should sell your Patreon more and be more assertive with your Patreon salesmanship. And then you turned around and sent the damn thing to me.
That was me being assertive.
I'm like, did I just create
DM it to everybody I know.
That was
I
great.
just created an absolute monster with Dan.
There you go.
Now it's
That's how we
just-
roll. That's
Oh,
how
you
we
want
roll.
to be on the pod again? Episode number 4. I think this is the 4th time. You're gonna have to join the Patreon first. We don't let anybody in at the show anymore.
Free rides over, Jack.
It's like the Saturday Night Live 5 Club, except before you join the 5 Club, you got to sign here on the dotted line.
That's
It says,
right.
I will join Patreon at the $10 tier.
$10 fee. I was really confused about that, but then I was like, man, maybe I should join. I don't know.
You should.
I think you should.
Yeah,
I think you should. You really should.
We have some funny conversations.
You don't know the goodness that you are missing. I'm just saying.
It's
I-
You
Daryl
know
unleashed.
me.
Yes.
You
Daryl
can only
unleashed.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think both of these guys have been on the Patreon show.
I think all 3 of them have.
Yeah.
I have.
I have not.
Yeah, I don't think we had the Patreon up.
You didn't even have a
We
show.
were-
We
we were
didn't even know. We
debuting.
didn't even know what we were gonna do with the Patreon.
We
the
still
last
don't.
time.
We just kind of take.
We still don't.
Patreon questions. I try to ask them what do they want to hear because it's a bonus show just for the listeners that are patrons. So I asked them, what do you want to hear about? Because we can shoot the breeze for a half hour easy.
There's only one rule though. If you're a patron, you have to overlook my shitty ass internet.
There's another rule that I have to play the "Fu Daryl" clip every.
No, you don't have to play that because it's not a rule.
It is a rule.
Noting the only person who's cut out of my screen tonight is Dan.
You got to give the people what they want.
That's right. Give the
Yeah, I
people what they
disappeared
want.
for a couple minutes. I don't know what the hell happened.
We were rolling on Cincinnati Bengals linebackers, so we were good.
Yeah, he just
I was,
disappeared in thin air.
I had my own conversation going, and I'm looking. I'm like, nobody said anything, and I look back. I'm like, not there. I'm like, oh crap.
Oh, we were saying all kinds of stuff. You just wasn't around to hear it.
I'm sure you were. We're live, so hey, it's
We were totally nerding out. It's like we got an injury man in here to get back to something that we got, people want to hear, I guess.
Yeah, so you would probably be an expert in this realm. Fridays is a pretty good injury day. Is it Friday or Saturday that normally teams will rule, definitely rule people? I mean, I know we have the Saturday.
Did you freeze up, Rob?
No,
The question
I was
was-
waiting for Dan to answer, like finish a sentence. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, like, I
I'm
know you
I'm
got something
I'm
coming.
perplexed. Apparently, Chadwick Boseman died.
Who?
I just saw this. I was about to say something
King
about it.
T'Challa, like
The Black Panther from the
Black
MCU.
Panther.
The actor
Apparently
died.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Apparently, he had
That's
colon
crazy. He
cancer.
was
Cancer
Jackie
sucks.
Robinson in the
2020
in 42.
2020 just sucks. Can
It
we just
does,
all
man.
accept that? Like,
He apparently
nothing
had-
good.
He apparently
Kobe-
had cancer.
Black Panther, like, this is a rough year.
Yeah.
COVID,
He played Thurgood Marshall, King T'Challa.
man, that sucks. I'm so
Wow.
sad.
I didn't know he had cancer. Like I had no clue.
That's horrible.
I didn't either.
That's
Apparently, he's had it for 4 years, and I had no idea. That's
Jamal,
crazy.
here's Jamal Adams, and I will paraphrase Jamal Adams' tweet. I just lost it here. He said basically F 2020. 2020 just isn't it. F man.
Yeah. 2020 is like a kick in the balls.
It really is.
It is.
And it's
Yeah.
gonna suck if we get 2 weeks into football and they just cancel that too.
Oh, don't
Don't you put that evil on me.
Tui, throw that away. Don't you even.
Has it now we have other people here. Has anybody ever heard that before?
What?
Tui, throw that away. Is that an expression anybody's ever heard in here?
I mean, I just heard Daryl.
Well,
say
yes.
it.
Besides,
There you go.
I mean, it's the worst phrase I've ever heard, but
yeah.
Nobody likes you guys, so you know what?
it sounds like something a 3-year-old would be upset about.
You know
Tui,
what? Show
Tui,
up an hour
throw that
late
away.
again. Why don't you just show up an hour late again?
Oh man.
Damn, don't cry on me.
That really hurt my feelings, Daryl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feelings?
You know, I
I'm
just
sorry.
thought.
I'm sorry, man.
You know,
Daryl has
I'm
one.
going through a
feeling.
lot right now.
I have
Just lost
one
Black
feeling.
Panther,
One.
and
Yeah, I know. We just lost Black Panther. That's like horrible news.
it's very sad. And well, here's the thing. When I say we lost Black Panther, like obviously we didn't lose a fictional character, but
No,
we lost
we lost
a
a
very
great
incredible actor
Yeah.
who
Portrayed Black Panther.
portrayed Black Panther, and it is incredibly sad. It's just 43. Like, come on, like y'all are. I mean, Daryl's like 50. So,
Actually, I'm
Like-
43. Smart ass.
are you actually 43? Dude, you need to get your colon checked out,
Hey, you leave my
Seriously.
damn colon out of this, okay?
or your liver. Probably your liver. If we're gonna be
Shh,
Well,
liver,
put my
I'm
medical
fine.
hat.
Shh.
Yeah. Maybe Budweiser will pay for your liver to get checked out.
We can
I don't
only
think they
hope.
will. Did you guys have other questions, or have we transitioned into the Patreon pod? What's
Let's
happening?
talk about LVE. That's the guy that everybody in IDP
There you
wants to
go.
talk about.
Yes.
Everybody knows
I'm bummed out about Chadwick Boseman. So, yeah, let's talk about some football. To get our mind off of that.
So, LBA, obviously, neck injury, neck surgery. He had a stinger that ended up needing surgery. When you hear stinger, just assume if you hear stinger, that's a neck issue. They'll say, "Oh, I got a stinger on my arm." Nah, doesn't matter. That's coming from your neck.
That would
so-
be a bee sting.
So actually, we just saw this with Justin Ross, where it was reported Justin Ross College. Oh, you got Clemson shirt on, so this is perfect.
Yes, sir.
So Justin, we'll just transition it. We'll talk about both because
Yeah,
I'm
let's
sure
do it.
you're curious too.
Yeah.
So Justin Ross earlier this offseason, you hear reports of he's dealing with a stinger in his arm and he's going to get tests. That right there is a huge red flag because here's the thing: if he's having stinger just like walking around,
Yeah.
the nerve's already impaired. Like something is hitting the nerve. And so then they went and got it checked out. And with Leighton Vander Esch, it was, okay, we need to probably go in, space this out, clean up around it, make sure that the nerve has plenty of space. And it should be okay for him to keep playing for whatever, 3 to 5 more years. With Justin Ross, they went in and did the test, and they found that basically two of his vertebrae were fused, And so there is no spacing it if they're fused together. There is no like opening it up. And so that's a huge concern because really we're designed for all of our vertebrae to move as a unit collectively. And so with Van Der Esch, you're hoping that this is now addressed and that it wasn't, there's no way for me to know, like from the side, whether or not, what the extent of the damage or the surgery that he had was. There is a chance that this will never be an issue again. Like, hopefully he doesn't ever like ram his head into somebody and tear his neck up, and it'll be fine. I mean, Mike Williams broke his neck and had a neck surgery, and it's for the most part the neck has been fine. So it is possible to have neck surgery and be fine. I'm a little more concerned with Van Der Esch because you tackle with your shoulders and your head going first.
Right.
There's no way to like, you always say, well, we got to tackle with our shoulders. Well, I have never met anybody that could hit something with their shoulder without their head hitting first.
Right.
So that is obviously a huge concern. The other problem is like, if you hit with the upper part of your shoulder, like you're going to catch your neck too. So that is more concerning for a guy like Van Der Esch, who is a tackling machine that is going to tackle hundreds and hundreds of times every year. Every single tackle puts him at risk. A guy like Justin Ross, the problem is that because those vertebrae were fused, technically, like if you look at the current best practice medical guidelines, you're not supposed to be allowed to play football with that. And so they are struggling with this idea that you have an elite football player who has made $0 legally playing football that was in line to make millions of dollars. And now you're saying, oh, well, technically, like, you're not allowed to play football with this. That is like, can you imagine even having that conversation with him, being like, oh, hey, by the way, like, sorry you spent your whole life being great at this one thing, but like now, like, because your vertebrae are designed this way and we just found it, we can't in good faith send you on the football field. Like, we can't let you play. And so,
I mean, is it unfortunate for his long-term health that they found this before something serious?
Yes, it is very fortunate that this wasn't, I mean, we're not talking about this as like, do you remember Justin Ross, the time he got paralyzed on the football field and couldn't walk again? Like, that is clearly better to know it now and be able to address it and hopefully live a full life that's perfectly healthy and he doesn't have any issues with it again. But I don't think I think they're going to try to let him play again. And so, you know, that his I can already tell you right now, I haven't done the risk injury assessment for him for the 2021 rookie injury guide, but I don't see any way to put his risk below a high risk because that is it's not going to go away. He's going to have that forever, and it could become an issue next week. It could become an issue 10 years from now. It's literally like a ticking time bomb. You don't know when that's going to come up. And when they say, nope, you're done. Like, you know, that's one tackle in practice the first week of camp away from being like, no, we're not going to clear you to play anymore. We're not going to let you play anymore. And so that is my concern when you hear neck injury with a guy like Van Der Esch is that where are we at with this? I don't know. I didn't see his neck. I didn't see his MRI results. I don't see what they did for his surgery. Is he one more neck injury away from being completely shut down, or is he totally fine? I don't know. There's no way to know. So the risk is inherent if you're putting him on your dynasty team. Like you accept that there's a potential that at any point in time this could be like he could be not playing football anymore.
So here's an interesting. Sorry to cut you off. Recently, Grant Calcaterra, who previously had said he was retiring, has decided to come back. I believe his issues were concussion related, possibly.
Yeah, I saw that.
He says he's not going to play this fall, but he's entering the transfer portal.
And he was a pretty good tight end, if I remember correctly. He was a tight end. I don't remember if he was like. I don't know if he was the best tight end for the class. But I remember the name and him
He was
medically
a high end
retiring.
Devy. Yeah.
Um,
He was like a top 5, top 10 guy in Devy for at tight end. Yeah. He's got kind of a wide receiver build and a tight end.
Yeah, he looks. I mean, he kind of reminds me. Just looking now that I've got him pulled up here. I mean, 6'4", 227. You're looking at not so much a tight end as like a Chase Claypool type. And I don't know if he's that kind of athlete, but that body style. Too small weight wise to be a tight end in the NFL, most likely, but too big to be a traditional receiver. Hopefully, he's a freak athlete. I don't know. I worry about the concussions being the thing that medically didn't clear him because, again, like
that doesn't go away.
you don't just like stop having concussions when you get to the NFL, like clearly. So is he one concussion away from being like, nope, actually we're pulling the plug. This is a terrible idea. Is he 2 concussions away? Is he what is it? So, good for him for wanting to come back and getting medically cleared to do so. If he loves football and he wants to come back and play, like I support that 110%. But just know that like probably not going to draft in any leagues because I don't want a guy that's tripping, a minor car accident, Paris Campbell shout out, away from being not able to play football.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Kuechly basically, I mean, that's not necessarily, I mean, that's probably is part of the reason he decided to retire at what we see as a young age, as far as football players, is that was a contributing factor to that.
And you know what the amazing thing is you're seeing that more often now with players choosing their health over 20-year NFL careers. It used to be you just played football until you physically couldn't anymore.
We mentioned the Patreon earlier today, and actually our very first Patreon episode, we talked about Chris Borland for about 20 minutes, and Daryl was like, F Chris Borland. Because Chris Borland was one of 2 third-round drafted linebackers to be relevant as in the top 24 in their rookie seasons. And Daryl was mad because I kept relating Chris Borland and because he wants to tell me that Logan Wilson drafted, I believe he was drafted in the 3rd round, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That Logan Wilson drafted in the 3rd round is going to be an LB1, and I told him the statistical chances of that based on the last 10 years of data, he'd have to be Darius Leonard, who was drafted in the 2nd round, or Chris Borland, who was drafted.
Oh my God, he's so much better than Chris Borland. Stop with that shit.
But statistically speaking, it hasn't happened.
Darius Leonard, no, but Chris Borland, he's better than him. You're poking the bear, Dan. Poking the bear.
But I'm giving you statistics, and you don't want to hear them.
You know what you can do with your statistics? You can shine those Rudy Poos up real nice and shiny. Just saying.
Yes.
Just for context,
Ethan has not moved in like an hour. I think he's
sorry.
I'm not. I was sitting about 200 feet or less from Mike Williams when he wrecked his neck there against the pylon in Death Valley. So that was hard.
Why did you tell him to not do that?
Callous when I say this, but I'm curious. We're a fantasy football podcast. I'm curious as to what happens with Leighton Vander Esch if he has another neck injury this year. Is he done? I feel like people think that he can just like miss games this year and then miss games next year. I feel like, and you tell me, is it he's one more injury and his career is over, or is that he could just play 5 more years and be fine?
I mean, I think both options are still technically on the table. I mean, if he has a neck injury again, yeah, they could shut him down. We've seen professional athletes get shut down because they have neck issues. I always say you don't play around with necks. You don't mess around with necks because everything that controls your entire body has to pass your neck first. And so if you tear up your neck, it can hurt your legs, your arms, your chest, everything. Literally every important piece. Literally the only thing you could be alive with just your brain, but you're going to have something that works your lungs, and you're not going to be able to control like your eating. I mean, it's just, to me, it's terrifying as a medical professional. Like the idea of you don't play around with necks, dude. Like you don't. To me, that is not worth it.
Not everybody's Kurt Angle and wins a gold medal with a broken freaking neck.
Broken freaking neck.
Well, I'm a huge Clemson fan, and to me, like the human part of me, just like the football fan wants Justin Ross to come back and be great. The human side of me, like, man, part of me wants him just not to come back.
We're going to see, because I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what his option was for surgery. I don't. Typically, that is we found this. Now, never playing football again. Had they found this when he was in 8th grade, he would never have played football again. We wouldn't even have this discussion because we would have never known Justin Ross existed because they'd shut him down in junior high. And so the only reason we're even discussing the possibility that he might play again is because he's potentially a millionaire if he is able to get cleared to play.
Yep.
And so do I think it's with Van Der Esch, do I think that it's like a death sentence that like, no, I'm not touching him ever in IDP? No. But I'm also keeping in the back of mind, like he's probably never going to be like one of my top 10 dynasty linebackers.
Yeah.
Because I know the risk is there that he just is gone and he's not going to be a thing. You know, he is an injury away from potentially being shut down outside of his own control. And so that freaks me out a little bit. And so could he play for 5 more years and never have another issue? Absolutely. Like that is an option. That is something that could happen. No question. But I do feel like you have to bake in the risk that he doesn't get to, he doesn't play. I say it all the time. When you're looking at injuries, too often we focus on how much time is this guy going to miss right now? Like the next, is he going to be back in 6 months, 12 months, 9 months? Is he going to be back this year, next year? We worry about how much time we're losing like right this second.
Yep.
We don't even think about down the road, how much time did we just take off the end of his career with his injury? Was this, and Andrew Luck is the one that comes to mind the most. We were so caught up in, is he throwing yet? Is he going to play this year? When's he going to come back? He's missed a whole year. Is he going to come back this year? Is he going to, we've already missed a whole year. Like are we going to get him back to week 1? Are we going to have to miss part of this year? And we didn't focus enough on, hey, this dude's made $200 million in his career plus. How much is too much for him? How much is it, how much is, hey, it's not worth it for me to constantly be in pain, to constantly struggle, to rehab, to constantly be on this grind of just discomfort for your entertainment. I'm already a millionaire, dude. Like, how many years did we take off the end of his career? We have to stop assuming that all of these football players are going to play until they physically can't. That is not the case anymore. They get paid way too much. We're seeing it with Luke Kuechly. We saw it with Rob Gronkowski, and potentially, he's coming back, but he made a decision that was like, hey, my body's breaking down. I'm a millionaire. Screw this, man. Like, this isn't worth it for me. I've had 3 back surgeries. This isn't worth it. I think we're going to get to that point with J.J. Watt at some point. These are the decisions that it used to be, you're going to play as long as you physically can. So that elite quarterbacks are going to play until they're, unless late 30s. You're going to have Tom Brady and you're going to have Big Ben, and it's going to be, you're just going to play until you physically can't anymore. And that is not the realistic expectation of current players. They just get paid way too much. They don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
All right. Before we get out of here, we want to give these guys an opportunity to plug their stuff. Tripp, why don't you go first? Tell us where we can find your work and everything you're working on here. You had a tweet earlier that I think I retweeted it.
Well, I appreciate you retweeting it. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm with DynastyFootballFactory.com, and my upcoming work is that I've got my 2020 cornerback ranks about to drop, and that'll happen in the next couple of days, and we'll see how much editing it needs. Probably quite a bit. But I got Dynasty ranks to update. I've got true position, edge, IDL, linebacker, safety, cornerback ranks to update on dynastyfootballfactory.com. And I will be doing the weekly waiver wire session series as well. That will drop on Tuesday mornings. Dan, I took that over for you, and I'm still going.
Yes,
So
I
I
passed that torch, and I think IDP guys has that covered, so I don't have to write waivers again this year.
I actually kind of enjoy it. And that's been a process of mine for years. I've sat there on a Sunday night and gone through all the box scores and who's interesting, who's done what, and then I wake up and then football. I was like, well, how do the snap counts flesh out, and how does that work out for me? So, I've been nerding out that for years. So all I got to do is write about what I've been seeing for years. So that works out just fine for me. So
I can hide my secrets now more because I'm not writing a weekly article telling everybody who I'm picking up on Tuesday night.
Yeah. Well, just today I put all my waiver wire claims for Marcus May because I got new information today. It's like, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame about putting your opinions out there in the public. It's public and people can just read your mind because you're telling people what you think.
Exactly.
Kyle, how about you? What are you working on?
Oh, just did the NFC East and NFC North tier breakdown over at you guys, and I think I'm gonna be doing the waivers when the season hits.
Nice.
That'll be fun. Trips at Diamond Stack House, see what's happening. So I'm just ready for football, man.
I agree.
Yes.
Am I supposed to talk now, or are you going to intro it, or am I just?
You can go ahead there.
So I'll just let her roll.
Yes, go for it.
Obviously, you can find me on Twitter at eTurnerFF_PT, talking a lot of injuries, only injuries. I'm a big IDP fan, but I won't say that I am exclusively IDP by any stretch. Mostly doing Dynasty and redraft stuff. But I am a supporter of the IDP brand. So obviously, this is my fourth time on this show. Fourth time? Is this the 200th episode? Because I think we had a thing going there where it's like every 50 episodes.
Well, that was the IDP Nation show. So this is spin-off.
What the heck is this? Where are we?
This is the lounge, man. The lounge is
It's a bunch of dudes sitting around drinking on a Friday night, bro.
Oh, everybody gets to drink with me because I'm an hour late. So
IDP Nation, he's on time every time. IDP Lounge, he's an hour late.
Hey, you ever show up to a lounge on time? I
have.
Fashionably late.
I actually show up early to lounges.
I have not.
You
So
took
you can find me. Obviously, you can find most of my stuff on Twitter, but pretty much everything I'm doing this year is on YouTube with the Fantasy Headliners. We're getting ready to drop weekly videos, updating everyone on DFS and the injuries that play the biggest role with that. That's kind of my gig this year. The Superflex Super Show is the podcast that I do with a bunch of very cool dudes. So please go check that out if you want to listen to podcasts. But yeah, the Fantasy Headliners, YouTube, that's my new thing. I'm doing YouTube. I'm getting ready to actually remodel this entire room so that I can have a YouTube setup that doesn't look bad. So this is probably the last time you'll see me on video without a new studio setup. So I'm kind of bummed, but I'm also excited that I got to hang out with my dude Dan, my dude Daryl, Kyle, and
Tripp.
Oh, you just go by Tripp? Tripp.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of half football, half teaching going on here. So, I got my reading schedule up behind me.
Other way, bro. Other way.
Here, I'm preparing myself to get
behind me
because I actually wrote an article about offense that'll be coming out. So I'm getting ready to get the jeers.
Offense?
Yes.
Are you sick?
What's that, bro?
I wrote some offense into my IDP about the NFC South, so I'm looking forward to the hate mail.
He is writing about offense. I need to look for a new co-host right now.
I am. I'm making my
Wow.
debut on the offensive side of the ball. So again, I'll probably get lamb-basted. I did not put Jared Cook in my top tiers because I don't think he's a top tier tight end this year. So don't at me with Jared Cook. Okay.
Yes, add him at Seahawks Dan 8. That's where you can add him.
No, you can, sure, but Jared Cook ain't it. Hollywood, how about you?
How about me? I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Plug your stuff. Let's go. You got like 50 articles, I'm sure, that you're going to write tomorrow with a case of Budweiser. So,
Hey, what I do with my case of Budweisers is none of your damn business, okay? You can find me at IDP Guys, and I do have a couple articles ready to come out.
And he does have a couple Budweisers sitting over there, too.
I plead the fifth. I may or may not. But you can find me at IDP Guys. Got a couple stuff coming out. IDP Nation. We're here at the IDP Lounge. Got some sponsors on the way that y'all need to stay tuned for. Dan's smiling, so I'll leave it at that.
Tune in on Wednesday morning. You'll get to hear our new sponsor.
I can't wait.
Take
I've been
advantage
waiting.
of the deal here.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this all week. This has been great. I can't wait. Dan's going to set me up, and I'm just going to be like softballing these things out of the park, man. It's going to be great. Literally. But anyway, got my Davy rankings, got my top 700 rankings. I'm on Reddit, Facebook. I'm
Finally
everywhere.
finished those?
Twitter. I did.
Finally did for September.
Yeah.
I gotta update mine. I gotta write about the NFC West before the season starts too.
I forgot
but
what
yeah,
the conference I was in. AFC.
I don't know. I didn't assign them. I'm not the boss.
I don't
FC North?
It might be. Yes, it's AFC North. I actually started it, but in my defense, I kind of got off track and started on the AFC East. I don't know how that happened, so I'm going to have to go back and like redo my shit on that one. I've got
But it's
What?
about that time. It's about, got 30 seconds or so left before, actually it is 11 o'clock right now. I guess that's 10 o'clock Central Time, Ethan.
I got loads of time.
we don't recognize anything but Eastern time.
Tripp's got one more thing to say, or
No, give Kyle a chance to shoot his the supportive stuff.
he did.
Who's Kyle?
Yeah, breaking up a little bit through the thing. I didn't miss anybody this week. I have missed people in the past week.
Sorry, bro.
But yeah, everybody got the stuff in.
Kyle, we're really sorry. Your stuff didn't go through clearly. Tripp's worried about you not getting your stuff in. Kyle's over there like, man, I thought I said everything that I wanted to say.
You know what,
And-
Kyle? If Ethan had showed up on time, this wouldn't be an issue right now.
The last 5 minutes has been choppy. It could be my internet. So, I'm in the process of moving. So I'm in a rental property right now. So I don't know.
All right, fellas. So same bat time, same bat channel. That is 9 o'clock Eastern, as always. On Friday nights, and remember, if you're listening, watching, we will try to get this on like a podcast version. I mean, eventually, I think we're still working on that. I know somebody in the comments again asked if there was an audio version of this. It's not hard to do, I don't think. So maybe Nate can hook us up with that, or I can do it. I don't know, maybe. But remember, hashtag IDP Lounge Lizards. Come join us next Friday as we, I think we're going to do a preview show because the season kicks off on September 10th, I think it is. So we might have some fun previewing. Adam IDP is scheduled to be on and some guests to be determined. So good night now. Goodbye and smooch. Good night.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Ethan,
for coming
you have
on.
to stay another hour by yourself,
Yeah.
Ethan. You're late.